I know sometimes we can't trust our eyes too, because history has a nasty habit of pulling things out of the ground that feel more like nightmares than memories. Bones packed in dust, tools bent out of shape, sealed rooms, and signs left behind by people who once stood there. This isn't a story someone told around a fire. These belong to a part of the past that people don't like to face. And in today's video, we're walking through 15 terrifying archaeological discoveries that are hard to believe are real, and each one carries a story that refuses to stay buried. So let's dive in with us. Number 15. Co-reign carving of Amenhotep III and Amenhotep IV. All right, this one feels like stumbling into a family secret that history tried to bury. For decades, ancient Egypt's timeline painted Amenhotep III and his son Amenhotep IV as rulers who followed one another, clean and separate. Then a carving in a Luxor tomb quietly ruined that idea. Etched into stone are both their names together, with hieroglyphs calling them joint rulers of Upper and Lower Egypt. That pairing has no parallel anywhere else in Egyptian history. Amenhotep III ruled for 39 years and oversaw what many call Egypt's golden high point. His son later shattered tradition by abandoning polytheism and introducing Aten, the sun disk, as the one true god. Because their beliefs clashed so violently, historians long suspected a forced removal. This carving suggests something stranger: cooperation. Maybe the aging father needed support. Maybe the revolutionary son already held power. Number 14. Horned animal dolmen carvings. This discovery didn't come from a grand expedition. It started with a park ranger doing a routine walk. On a massive stone tomb, a dolmen built between 4,000 and 4,500 years ago. She noticed faint lines that didn't look natural. Archaeologists were called. What they found stopped them cold. The markings were drawings, not scratches, not erosion. Carved images of mysterious horned animals. No other dolmen in the region has anything like this. Thousands exist across the Golan Heights, but none tell stories. This one does. It sits in a small clearing inside the Yehudia Nature Reserve, and until July 2020, nobody knew it was different. The figures raise uncomfortable questions. Was the person buried here important, feared, worshipped? Was this tomb set apart on purpose? We barely understand the culture that built these monuments. Now we know they left pictures behind, and pictures mean meaning. We just don't know what kind yet. Number 13. Temples, older than Göbekli Tepe. For years, Göbekli Tepe wore the crown as the world's oldest known temple site. Then Bonkuklu Tarla showed up and quietly took it. In 2019, archaeologists working in southeastern Turkey uncovered a series of structures that appear to be about 13,000 years old, roughly 1,000 years older than Göbekli Tepe. That alone should make anyone pause. These weren't random shelters. They were deliberately arranged temples with stiff clay floors and quarry stone walls. For people living at the very edge of prehistory, that's an astonishing level of planning. The tools used to build them were found on site, but they don't tell us who these builders were. No names, no clear culture, just stone and intention. Turkey has hosted more civilizations than most places on Earth, and many of its ruins remain untouched. Bonkuklu Tarla reminds us how dangerous it is to say oldest too confidently. The ground still has its own opinions. Number 12. Engraved metal cups of the Chachapoya. The Chachapoya have always felt like ghosts in South American history. Cities, cliff tombs, long-distance trade, all confirmed. Metalwork, supposedly beyond them. That belief cracked in June 2018, when two delicately engraved metal cups were uncovered in Peru's Chachapoyas region. Until that moment, there had been no direct evidence that the so-called cloud people worked metal at all. These cups change that. Their designs don't match known Inca styles. They don't resemble anything previously found in Peru. That's what makes them dangerous to old assumptions. Some historians argue the cups could have been taken as spoils of war from the Inca. Rivals, the Chachapoya, fought fiercely. Others point out that nothing about them fits Inca craftsmanship. The Chachapoya built cities, created writing later adopted by the Inca, and traded across vast distances. Number 11. 3.3 million-year-old stone tools. Well, it was found in 2011, along the shores of Lake Turkana in Kenya. Archaeologists uncovered primitive stone tools dated to an impossible age, 3.3 million years old. That makes them at least 700,000 years older than any tools ever found before. The problem? The earliest known humans didn't exist yet. Nearly 150 tools were recovered. Flakes used for cutting, crude anvils, heavy hammerstones that would have taken real effort to shape. If humans didn't make them, something else did. The likely candidates are Kenyanthropus platyops or Australopithecus afarensis, species never thought capable of this kind of work. Until Turkana, the 2.6 million-year-old Oldowan tools in Tanzania held the title. Now they don't even come close. If pre-human species were already making tools, it suggests something unsettling. Early humans may not have invented technology, they may have inherited it. Number 10. Neolithic mural. This one messes with art history in a quiet, dangerous way. Back in 2015, fragments of a painted mural were uncovered at the Shima ruins in China. At first, it didn't look like much. Then researchers noticed something that shouldn't have been there at all: individual brushstrokes. The mural is around 4,000 years old. Chinese historical records say the paintbrush wasn't invented until General Meng Tian of the Qin dynasty, about 1,800 years later. Yet here were visible strokes, frozen in pigment. It gets worse. The paint itself contains glauconite, a mineral that only comes from the sea. The Shima ruins sit hundreds of miles inland. Someone transported marine pigment across vast distances and applied it using a tool history insists didn't exist. The scene shows a family at a banquet, musicians playing harps. Ordinary content, impossible method. General Meng Tian may have refined the brush, but this mural whispers that someone else held one long before his name ever appeared. Number 9. Trifle Stone Tomb, Capstone. For centuries, the trifle stone stood in southwest Wales like a forgotten prop. Old, tall, mildly interesting. That was it. Then archaeologists started paying attention to its surface. Tiny cut marks began telling a different story. Those markings matched those seen on Neolithic and Bronze Age burial stones. That was enough to trigger a geophysical survey of the land around it. What came back changed everything. Pottery fragments, beads, human bones. The so-called standing stone turned out to be the capstone of a large tomb built around 5,500 years ago. It wasn't scenery, it was ritual architecture, a surviving piece of burial practices from the earliest farming communities to ever settle the British Isles. Intense agriculture in the 1600s erased many ancient sites like this. Somehow, this one endured. It waded through centuries of footsteps before anyone finally realized it wasn't standing alone. Now other stones across Wales are being checked. The ground may be hiding more misjudged monuments. Number 8. Dragon Man. Skull. This skull didn't just add a branch to the human family tree, it threatened to redraw it. Found in northeastern China, Dragon Man is a fossilized skull dated to around 140,000 years ago. Scientists say it belonged to a male around 50, with a large brain and flat cheekbones. What's unsettling is how modern he looks. More like us than Neanderthals. More like a living man than any extinct relative we've ever reconstructed. The provisional name given is Homo longi, after the region it was discovered in. Some researchers believe this may represent a third human lineage that lived alongside Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Others argue it could finally be the face of the mysterious Denisovans, whose existence we know mostly from fragments. No complete Denisovan skull has ever been found. Dragon Man might be the missing one. Either way, he shouldn't fit so neatly, and he doesn't. He sits in that uncomfortable place where categories stop working. Number 7. Elizabethan paintings inside a pub. Nobody expects history to be hiding behind a bar wall. During renovations at the Star Pub in Hoddesdon, workers uncovered 5 painted wall panels buried inside the structure. They date back over 500 years to the Elizabethan era. The inn once belonged to William Cecil, Lord Burghley, Queen Elizabeth I's closest advisor. Experts believe Cecil himself may appear in the paintings. One figure might even be the Queen, though that can't be proven. The panels show elegantly dressed figures, likely commissioned shortly after Cecil bought the inn in 1580. What makes this eerie isn't just their age, it's their survival. The building has been altered countless times since the mid-1400s. Somehow the artwork stayed sealed inside the pub, protected by renovation after renovation. The inn is Grade 2 listed, with roof beams hinting that it once served as a medieval open hall. People drank here for centuries without knowing royalty might have been watching from the walls. Number 6. Ancient Maori Cave. Carvings. 5 miles northwest of Murapara, hidden in forest near the Kaingaroa Plains, a cave opened onto a past nobody recognized. Inside were carvings unlike any known Maori art. Researchers believe they predate the local Ngati Manawa and may have been created by a now-extinct tribe called the Marangaranga. The most striking images show 16 waka canoes, all pointing left. That detail alone unsettled archaeologists. The style doesn't match traditional Maori carving. Alongside the canoes are chevrons, detached spirals, and markings no one has confidently identified. The arrangement suggests a war expedition, scouts leading, larger vessels following behind. The cave formed from a rhyolite outcrop along a small stream-fed gully and includes a rock shelter covered in even more carvings. It offers a glimpse into a version of Maori history that isn't written anywhere else. The problem is time. The stone is soft, the weather is relentless, and whatever this culture was trying to leave behind is already fading. Number 5. The Sealed Condor's Passageway. Picture standing inside a stone complex where sound bends and corridors feel intentional. Chavin de Huantar was never meant to be simple. Long before the Inca, this place functioned as a ceremonial center for the Chavin culture, filled with terraces, tunnels, and hidden routes that still aren't fully mapped. One of those routes stayed closed for centuries. No light, no footsteps, no disturbance. In July 2023, a blocked corridor was finally opened. Not because curiosity won, but because the structure left no choice. Inside sat a massive ceramic object weighing around 37 pounds, shaped with what appears to be a condor's head and wings. In Andean belief, condors weren't decoration. They symbolized power, authority, and prosperity. The passage lies about 190 miles northeast of Lima, inside a complex already famous for bird and feline imagery. What makes this corridor unsettling isn't only what it held, it's the decision to seal it in the first place. Someone closed it and never came back. Number 4. The Ancient Royal Sword. It started when a shovel hit something that didn't sound like stone. That moment belonged to a 42-year-old farmer on Phenom Tab Bang Mountain in June 2023. What came out of the soil wasn't farm debris, it was a sword. More than 2 feet long, nearly 6 pounds. Heavy in a way that doesn't belong to tools. The blade was handed over immediately to Cambodia's Department of Culture and Fine Arts, then passed to experts at the National Museum in Phnom Penh. The carvings along its surface mirror designs found on ancient sculptures across the region, yet no one is willing to place a date on it, not even an estimate. Some suspect a ceremonial role, possibly linked to the legendary Prehistoric Reach, a symbol of Cambodian sovereignty missing since 1970. Nothing is confirmed. That silence matters. When specialists refuse to guess, it usually means the object doesn't fit anything they already know. Number 3. 16 ancient granaries. 16 circles changed how this site is understood. Not homes, not graves, storage. At Hongshan in Nanyang, central China, remains of tightly packed granaries surfaced near ancient houses and jade and stone workshops. They date to the mid-late Yangshao culture, between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago. Each structure was built with intention, round or oval foundations measuring up to nearly 10 feet across. Their density alone suggests planning. Their contents say more. Inside were millet, rice, and millet seeds, enough to point toward large-scale accumulation. Then came the absence. No grass seeds. That detail shifted the entire interpretation. It suggests food wasn't grown here. It arrived here through trade, which means this settlement wasn't just feeding itself. It was receiving, storing, and redistributing. That brings implications of organization, roots, and control long before written records. Number 2. Giant sloth bone pendants. Ornaments don't have to exist. Tools do. Food does. Shelter does. Ornaments mean something else. At Santa Helena Rock Shelter in central Brazil, 3 giant sloth bones were found shaped, smoothed, and polished by human hands. They weren't cut for meat. They were modified to be worn. Pendants. They date between 25 and 27,000 years ago, making them the oldest known personal ornaments in the Americas, and the only ones ever made from giant sloth. The animal, Glossotherium phoenicis, weighed around 1,300 pounds, larger than most brown bears. Microscopic analysis showed the polishing happened before fossilization. The shelter also holds rock art showing animals and human-like figures. Together, they form a pattern of symbolism rather than survival. The find supports growing evidence, including human footprints in New Mexico dated over 21,000 years old, that people reached the Americas far earlier than once taught. Number 1. Giant prehistoric stone tools. Imagine lifting a blade that doesn't fit your hand. Now imagine shaping it anyway. In Kent, deep in Ice Age sediment, nearly 800 stone objects were recovered from a site older than 300,000 years. Among them sat 2 flint hand axes stretching over 11 inches long, some of the largest ever discovered in Britain. They weren't crude. Both sides were carefully worked into symmetry, forming long cutting edges suited for butchering and slicing. Their scale is what unsettles archaeologists. They're functional, yet excessive. Tools like these demand strength, time, and intention beyond necessity. No one knows which early human species made them. The surrounding layers revealed a vanished landscape once home to red deer, horses, straight-tusked elephants, and lions. Far above that world, separated by roughly 250,000 years, a Roman cemetery was later built. History never rests. It waits. Beneath soil, beneath cities, beneath the stories we think we understand. Every discovery we explored today proves how fragile our timelines really are. The ground doesn't just preserve the past. Sometimes it exposes parts of it we were never meant to meet. If you like this journey, hit like, subscribe, and stay close because more buried stories are coming and you won't want to miss them.